in your packet, you should have a card that has been cut and scored. It is an A2 size card. This is 110-pound cardstock. We also have a layer of printed cardstock. It is going to be what covers that front panel. It's going to fit perfectly. I have already die cut the toaster pop-up add-on for you because I wasn't certain that you had it, so you will be ready to go there. We'll talk about how I got there. You have a little green tab that will cover the mechanism when we get to that. So I'm going to set that aside because we're not going to worry about that just yet. The stamp set that I have stamped and die cut for you is the Toucan Do It, the new stamp set from Fawn with the coordinating dies. So fun, so fun. We have 2 bangles, so of course this speaks to my heart. I realize these are not bangles, these are Jaguars, or I think they're cheetahs, but I learned that cheetahs are a Jaguar, so learning every day. I love that. This is the toaster pop-up die. This is the mechanism, this is the support system, the thing that makes the pull, the finger pull, the die that covers the pull, and then if you have the toaster die, stamp and die set, this has that curve of the slit in the toaster, but this straight one is the one we're going to use because you can use this with a myriad of things, and it doesn't even have to be Fawn. So I have die cut these mechanisms. They are all here for you. I've also used, and I failed to bring the dies with me, but this is the brand new Tropical Leaves die set, and it is so pretty. So let's show you what the end result will be after we put it all together. So we're going to do a very fun hidden what's behind, what's in the jungle popping out, ready to say have a wild day. I have colored them a little bit differently just to show a variety. And I have this so that each table has a different example and so that you can see some different options. And I gotta say, when I start coloring, I have the tendency to say, well, how did God make these? So I pull up my internet browser and I say, I don't know, let's look for a toucan. So toucans are amazingly beautiful. Look at all these different renditions. And I'm only saying that to you because there's not going to be a right or wrong way of coloring that. Like, look at this beak is all gray. You got a little bit of blue around his eye with a big old white chest. Sorry, there is yellow in the front, but you don't see it so much. But then if I go, whoops, sorry, let's get out of there. Good heavens. Let's go back. Look at that one. You've got the yellow and the green. I mean, I just got excited doing this. So a tip for you, if you're not sure how to color a toucan, it really isn't super important, but that is a tendency that I have. If you don't know how many different butterfly colors there are, that's a thought. There's millions. So blah, blah, blah. Those are just the things that I did as I got started. And since today is not all about how to color, but rather a technique, I went ahead and colored all of my images. So here they are. These are the images that we're going to use. I die cut out the tropical leaves from green cardstock and then just added different values of green on them just so that they weren't a solid color. So let me pull those over so that you can see. So let's see here. Let's just show you real quick. Okay? So I am gonna, for those of you who have not gotten any colors, if you'd like, you can come grab a handful, but not to worry just yet. All right, so how are we gonna get started? Well, let's do this. Let's take the pieces of our card. Let me say that better. Let's pull out our card that has already been cut and scored for you. And I like to leave it flat so that I can see my alignment, okay? If you have a preference that's different than that, then please do that. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this in place. And I see that I failed to give myself my tape runner, my ATG gun, so I'm going to use my liquid glue. You use the adhesive of choice for you. I love our glitter glue. It is my favorite, and I love it because it has a very quick window of drying. It has a low amount of water content, so it's not going to curl and warp my paper, and I can wiggle it into place. So a tip for you might be that if you want to hold this up, whoops, so that you can get the perfect alignment, that is a help for me. Whoops. Kind of hovering there, and there we go. So that's the first step. Now I really wanted to use my rectangle die to do this, but this is another option. Just do a quarter panel. 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, good to go. All right, set this aside. All right, let's come over here. So why did I do what I did here? And let's show ya. So this is from the toaster pull-up add-on. So I just die cut out my finger pull. I have lined it up so that the bar is lining right above the card. It's not on the card. And I tried to center it. Now, it's not going to be the end of the world if you're off a fraction, but your goal is to attempt to be in the center. Okay? So now that's done. Then this, you have to decide, what is my purpose? The purpose for this card is to have a surprise for the recipient. Like, you don't know that there's anything behind all those jungly leaves, and it's just a fun, interactive surprise. So how do you get this? Well, you consider, what am I going to place there? And you make like a little tiny pencil line, or you identify, for me, a little tiny pencil line, so that the top of this slit is underneath that, because it still needs to come up. Okay, so that's how I did that. I knew that my leaf wasn't going to be at the very bottom, although it could be. And that is going to hide my cat. Okay, so I lined that up, ran it through the die cut machine, and now we are ready to go. The next thing we're going to do, now here's an option. You could use one of the watercolor wishes, the blue or any other blue pattern, or green, whatever you want. Or you can take some Tumble Glass Distress Oxide ink. We could use a cloud stencil, or you could just kind of throw some random blue just to create a faux sky. Faux sky, I don't know if that's right. Wow, I needed to load up my brush blending tool a little bit better. But it really won't matter. I'm just adding a little bit of information so that it's just not a stark white card. This is totally optional, just an idea, okay? You don't have to do this at all. The next thing I'm going to do my sentiment, which is have a wild day. Okay. I have lined up my stamp, and I lined it up by doing a dry run. What else am I going to put on the card? Well, I'm going to add one of the tree branches so that I can host one of these lovely critters. So I like to do a dry run. I like to see, where should I put this? What should be on the front? What would support my message? Well, these critters are so darn cute. So I'm going to do a little branch. Let's see, I could still even go a little bit higher if I want. I think that's pretty good. So then I took my sentiment and I added it, so let's just do it fresh. I'm going to align it as straight as I can. We are not perfect. And let's see. Let's hope that you can see this. There we go. Let it not stick to my finger. Okay. Straight. I'm going to close the door of my Misty. I almost forgot to put my magnet in place. And since I'm not going to color, I just want a crisp, lovely black sentiment. I'm going to use my favorite black ink pad, which is VersaFine Clair. This is a fast-drying pigment ink. It's glorious for embossing, but it's also fantastic for your stamped sentiment. It is just crisp and strong with no effort. There we go. Okay. Now we can begin building because we've got our sentiment already in place. Let's take this away. And this comes from your stamp set. But you can do any message you want, whatever you have in your stash. Okay. From there, I cut in, and you will find in your kit a little bit of ground. So it's this, I don't know, 1 inch by 4 3/4 strip. You could do anything. That could just be, it could be green for more grass. But I chose some ground. And what I'm going to do, I am going to start building on this rather than on the card for a minute. I am going to, again, do a dry run. I'm going to kind of, here, since we're doing a dry run, we'll leave this in place. So remember, the goal is to have all these fun critters and build the setting and a spot for him to hide. So I'm just kind of laying these out. How do I think I like them? This is where you can totally move things around. Let's see. Something like this. This is total preference. Like that. Okay, I have an idea. So now I'm going to take all these off. One of the things that we must have is space for this, the mechanism. You know what? Let's pause. Let's build the mechanism so you can see what I'm talking about. You do not have to do this order, but let's make sure that I'm a why girl, so I like to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So let's get out these elements, okay? When you die cut out this mechanism, you'll see that it includes 4 score lines, here, 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 and here. So you are going to fold the first, on the most inward score, you're going to fold it in, and then on the next score line, you're going to fold it out. Now this is an interactive piece, which means the fold lines need to be burnished really well, and they need to be accurate. So if when you fold, if it ends up skewing so that it is no longer straight, then correct that and burnish it in place. So next we're going to fold the other one in the same way, only it's going to be left instead of right. So we fold it in and then we fold it out on the different score lines. So now your mechanism looks like this. They are straight, and I am going to burnish them in place, making them nice and crisp. Okay? All right, now the support that I spoke of, it has a score line here and here, and its purpose is to hold, to wrap around this and keep it straight. So let's fold on these score lines. And same rule as I so often talk about, when you make a score, as this die does, it will make an indentation on the top on the back side, it makes a tiny little mountain or a bump. And I most frequently try to hide the bump. That is the general rule, okay? And of course, all rules have exceptions. So this is going to come, it's going to wrap around and go like this. That's the gist of that. So let's take this off for a minute. Whoops. Let's fold these pieces in, come from the back side, and thread them through that slit, folding that out like that. Now, see this? If we didn't have that support, it doesn't have structure. It just has this. So let's strengthen that, and let's also show you this mechanism. It's going to go, because of these slits, it's going to slide up and down that canal. Now, since this is interactive, I'm going to use the powder tool that we love to use for getting rid of any sticky, or primarily for getting rid of any static. I'm going to just generously use my powder tool in that slit, just to help with any friction. This will help it glide nicely. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Now, let's come back to what I was saying. Let's flip this over, and let's give this some structure. So what I'm going to do, this is where you want to be delicate with your liquid glue. Or you could put a piece of score tape, or use your tape runner on the back side of this 3-part element. For me, since I again failed to bring my tape runner, I'm just going to do a quick, I'm not going clear to the edge. I do not want any glue seeping. I am going to now, that's the back side. This is what's going to stick to my card. I'm going to line it up. It's going to be lower than the thumb or the finger pull. And its purpose, again, is to keep this in line, keep it straight. So my first job, I'm going to hold that in place. My mechanism is centered in that finger pull. I'm going to hold it for a second, and I'm certain that the glue is now dry. So let's finish what this design is meant to do. So now we're going to put the tiniest of glue, or tape runner or score tape, right there on the inside smaller tab, and it's then going to fold over and lock this in place. It's going to allow a channel to remain straight, or its purpose is to keep this straight. So I'm on the back side of the card, and let's just show ya. Now it doesn't wander. Okay, that's its why, that's its job. Okay, so let's flip that over. You don't see any of that. That's just how this mechanism works for us. Okay, so now let's set this aside. Oh, bless you, Chris. Okay, this, what I started to say, this has to have a little bit of room to not have anything get in the way. And because I haven't done my leaves, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of foam tape or pop dots, whatever you have, to allow a little bit of lift. And I'm going to put a few on either end. I don't want anything in the center, because that would get in the way of the mechanism. The mechanism won't go all the way down there, but you never know what we're going to put on that. So I'm going to set that there. Now I can begin building. The other thing we can do here before we start building is this finger notch. You know, sometimes it's hard to get in there on the card and pull that out. So let's help that by putting some mounting tape on the back of this, or some pop dots. I love the clear pop dots, because then they're invisible. They're doing their job, but you don't see them. It doesn't scream, hey, look at me, I am foam tape. So that's why we have white black and clear. Why do I always do this? I always keep my sheath on instead of pulling it off before I have it in my hands. Anyways, I'm blabbering. All right, I'm going to do just a couple rows. I'm staying free of this mechanism. I just want to give it some support. I want to lift it away from the card so that when we go to pull that pull tab, it's easier to grab. That's the why. Oops. Do the same thing on the other side. You don't have to have a full strip. I just happen to have this. You could do random pop dots or squares. You could do pieces of chipboard that would otherwise go in the recycling. You could use, what is that, foam, fun foam, anything that's going to give it some lift. Okay, now we're ready. We're going to set this aside and continue doing the building. Okay, put my scissors away. All right, how about if I begin gluing some of these leaves in place? So, a little bit of glue, doesn't take a whole lot. Start putting it down. One of the things that trips us up is we think too much. So I'm going to try my best to not think so much. Many of you are better at just doing instead of thinking, so I'm not, that's not me. I am a slow crafter. So let me get my parts up here. All right. How about if we do something on the other side? Let's see. That looks good. Oops. I'm not putting a ton of glue on here because I want there to be some movement. But you may think differently, and so if you want it to do something different, do that. Let's see. How about this big, beautiful leaf? So pretty. Look, Vicki, this is like bringing Hawaii back to you. Since you were just there, this card is for you, my friend. Okay. Let's see. Some of these, if you want to add some more dimension again, you could put some mounting tape on the back of them. Mounting tape, you know, lifting and adding more dimension, I just love it. It makes all the difference. I'm going to add that, so now there's some different height, making it a little bit more real. Let's stick this guy out. I like all the different heights, the different values of color. I'm looking back so that foam tape allows me to just get in there and okay, I'm still building. Let's see. All right, let's pause for a second and let's add our cheetah. Now, I called it a cheetah, a jaguar, your cat. Okay, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to stick him on this mechanism. He's going to ride up and down on this piece. And I'm going to put just a little bit of glue here, in here. Doesn't need a lot, or a little bit of score tape. And I'm going to line him up like this. I totally missed that. There we go. Haha, it's another reason to use your powder tool. If you get adhesive in spaces that you don't want, first I'm going to use my sand eraser so that I get rid of any discolor. And then I'm going to use my powder tool just in case there's any sticky at all. Sticky does not work well for your craftsmanship, and it begins to act as a magnet for fingerprints and sticking other things together. So we just got to do We just got to clean it up. All right. Now see how I have extra hanging out? It's okay to trim that so that that is no longer like a decoration. We don't need that. And in fact, I could even do that here. I'm going to get a smaller pair of scissors so it's easier to get in there. As long as we are not cutting away, as long as we're not removing the opportunity for this guy to ride on the mechanism, you're fine to trim away. There we go. Okay. Now I didn't need to use any of that. Okay, so see, he's going to slide up and down. The mechanism just allows you that space to put on there whatever you like. Okay, so now that mechanism has completely disappeared. You don't even know how that's happening, which is really fun. While I have my scissors out, I can leave this mechanism in the bottom position as low as it can go, and I'm going to go ahead and trim away that extra. So that's going to go in the trash. So again, this mechanism is built for a myriad of things, and you just make it the right size and shape for your project. Let's see, let's keep building this. Now we can understand what else. Okay, I have a couple leaves left. So let me glue this last one here, or not my last one, before the one that will cover. Okay, that, we'll put that there. That looks fun. And then finally, we'll put this here. Okay, and maybe even, ooh, yep, I'm gonna put it there. So a little bit of glue at the base. Tuck it underneath. Oops. But hiding the cat. And it's kind of fun. You can see, ooh, something is lurking back there. So it's just kind of that, I want to see what that is. Okay. So now we have this piece ready to go. Let's remove the protective liners. I could add some more foam dots. Let me see. I think I will add just a few more for support. Just in case the recipient pokes at it. I'm sure they won't. Okay. All right. And this one, I should have checked on that. That one may get in the way, so let's get rid of that. Okay. All right, I'm sticking that down. All right, now he's gonna come up and make his presence known. Okay, let me get rid of these. Okay, oh yeah, doing good so far? All right, maybe we even add a butterfly to help him be a little more hidden. Yep. So maybe I'll stick just the tiniest bead of glue or dot of glue here and here. Oops. Okay. All right, what else do we want to add? Let's add our branch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of these squares in half. Now maybe you have strips, maybe you have a roll, but this branch is narrow, so I'm just going to, while it's still on the packing, I'm just going to cut it in half. Oops. Flip this branch over, add some foam tape, foam squares. Oops. Separate that. Just giving it a little lift. These are squares, foam squares from Scrapbook Adhesive. I just love them. Until you press them in place, they are very forgiving. Then once you press them in place, they're like, oh, this is my new home. Perfect. I don't know if you've ever bought foam tape that is garbage. It's more frustrating than anything. Okay. Now lay that down so that I have room for my toucan. Let's make sure before I stick it. Yep. Then we're going to put our toucan in place with a little bit of liquid glue. Just a little. Stick him on the branch. Okay. This set comes with these sweet tendrils of motion. Let's put maybe the toucan just flew in and we want to identify. Whoops, I can't pick him up. Maybe we want to identify that he's just done that. So we could glue this little tendril on, or you could just stamp it in place if you had this set already. There we go. Let's stick this down on this leaf. I'm just going to hold that there. Okay. Oops. No, I did not get that. I'm doing this so that you don't get the excess glue in the wrong place. Let's do that a little bit more. There's that fine line of too much and not enough. Okay, then let's stick this down. I'm going to wait on that. Let's do this heart one. It's so cute. Pop out that center. How about adding a butterfly? I love that all these critters are sweet to each other. Nobody is trying to eat the other one. In my little fantasy, that's how all animals behave. I know better, but you know, I can pretend. All right, where did my butterfly go? Here he is. Let's put a dot of glue there. That looks like an air bubble. There we go. Add a little glue. Okay. We still have this guy to put down. All right, let's give him a little bit of height. So I'll add a couple of dots on him. And before I remove the protective liner, let's look at that. I think that looks sweet. I don't know if I want to put that there or not. I think I'll skip that. Now, one of the things that I appreciate doing is I like taking some of the elements that you see on the front and put some of that on the inside of your card. It just makes it more finished, I'll call it. So, I don't know, I might have to do some more images for myself. Or, I could put these in there. I don't know. I could either make it a more lush. I'm pondering. I could put this smaller, ooh, that might be cute. I could put this smaller branch, oops. I'm so silly. The card's over here. I'm trying to open the card. I could put a branch here. I could put a lizard on the branch. I don't know. I'm still thinking. I could put some... I'll save this for I don't know what birthday or retirement or something on the inside. We'll finish that later. So let's put this aside for a minute as I'm thinking about where should all these pieces go. Okay, let's stick him down. This is how my brain works, girls. I'm just all thinking of all the things. Okay, so let's stick him down. Let's slide that up and down again. Very fun.
So, Cindy, the only thing that's attached to that thing that goes up and down is that one,
The mechanism, yep.
just one thing on it.
Yep, good question. So your question was, the only thing that is on that is this stabilizer.
Okay.
Yep, that just keeps it straight. Was that what you asked?
Well, I was
And
asking
then-
also about the object you had on it, that I kind of missed that when you
Yep.
had.
Yep.
You have it
The
all
only thing I have is the other cat, the sitting cat.
And it's on there.
It's on there. Yep. So you might have wanted to put the toucan on there. Or maybe you want to put the toucan on his head.
Okay.
That would be fun too. Maybe we want to put the lizard on his head. Any of those things. You could keep building that. Okay? Maybe maybe we need to put a flower. It's a girl. Oh, let's do that. You're making me think, Vicky. Look it's a girl cat. Because of course they wear flowers in their hair. Fur. Okay. Let's see, anything else? So that adds a little bit of color. We still have another leaf. Let's add a leaf. Okay. All right. Let's find our little tab so that we can glue that. Okay. It's scored. You can fold it in half. It's going to be the piece that identifies to the recipient what they should do. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the back side. I'm going to slip that over the tab, or the top of that mechanism is better said. We're going to turn it into a tab with the arrow that says pull here. Okay, now we can bring our card over. I'm going to leave these pieces because they may just go on the inside. Move my space, my stuff, so you can see better. Okay, now I'm going to do a dry run. I'm just going to line this up, hoping to have equal borders all the way around. And once I'm comfortable with that, that way my brain knows what our objective is. I'm now going to hover over this card. Now that all the protective liner has been removed, line it up and then press it into place. So cute. Okay, and see, it was easier for me to line all this up because it's flat. I'm going to now fold that in half and burnish my card so that it has a nice crisp fold. If you have a handmade by stamp, before you folded it in half, it would have been great to stamp that first. Also, in that flat position, you could have stamped a sentiment on the inside. But since we're going to save this for when it's the right time, I will stamp that on a banner later and then add that to another layer on the inside and, build all the different elements. But again, we could We could create a little cluster here so that you have something from the front on the inside. It just makes it so fun, so finished. I like that. Add some color on the inside. Maybe you've got a hibiscus there. I don't know. Let's open that all the way. What do you think? All right. It's that simple. Lawn Fawn really does a glorious job of taking something that might seem complicated, but makes it easy for us. So, are there any questions? All right. So, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that this inspires you to get out your stamps and your colors and all your goodness and make something beautiful to make somebody else smile. So until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.